Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me. We have an awesome show planned for you today. We're going to start outside the sports world, something very important, a theme and a narrative that I've been talking about for the past, 15 days? And it's all coming to a head a little quicker than I thought. We're going to go back in on this Karmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf situation. That's probably going to take me about an hour. We'll bring Shemeka in at some point during the conversation. And then in the back half of the show, Jay Skapanek is still here in town with me, and we will cover the great NBA reset and talk about what's in it for the stakeholders. We'll talk in stakeholder ownership, players, fans, the gambling companies, the TV partners, that stuff. We'll talk about the benefits of that, and then we'll talk a little play-in games last night. We'll mention that briefly. Shedeur Sanders has now been compared to Daniel Jones. I think Pat Shermer did that yesterday. He's been compared to, by me, Dak Prescott. He's been compared to Andy Dalton. And there was one other quarterback that he's been compared to. I can't think of. Anyway, there's been like 4 comparisons. And someone will help me out, and I'll remember the fourth one. But we'll talk, like, what is the proper comparison for Shedeur Sanders? So we'll get into that. And then Time has come out with a most influential list, the 100 most influential, and there's like 43, 44 women on this list, and Caitlin Clark isn't one of them. LeBron James isn't on the list, Steph Curry. So we'll talk about that as well. Oh, and man, I'm so glad that you guys texted me that. Chad Pennington is the other quarterback that Shedeur Sanders has been compared to. He's getting compared to a lot of white quarterbacks, which is probably healthy, but I'm not sure Dion likes any of these comparisons. And me and Skap will chop it up and say, what's the fairest comparison, and how come no one has compared him to Warren Moon? I don't know. That seems like a decent potential comparison. But anyway, I'm going to start with something very, very important, as the promotion of the race war in America just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And the whole purpose of me in this show has been like, hey, let's don't devolve into a race war. That is what the enemy, that is what the globalists, that is what the leftists, that is what the secular want. They want to use it as a tool to bring down America. And so I'm going to go do a deep dive on that and how they're using this Karmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf situation to promote a race war. So before I do any of that, I had a great workout this morning. Thank you, Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. $20. Try Relief Factor for just $20. You can get their 3-week quick start. It's just $19.95. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. All right, let's go. Let's start with a protest that is being suggested, called for, I believe this weekend. We're just 2 days away. Let's start there. What is it called? Protecting White Americans. And I'm calling it the Unite the White movement. And so this is being blasted out all over social media. Protect white, protect white Americans. And someone that's been on this show and someone that I'm a fan of, according to that billboard that's over my shoulder right now, Jake Lang, a January 6th survivor, someone that did 3 or 4 years standing on his head because of January 6th. We've had Jake Lang, I believe, when I read this billboard, and Matt Wallace had tweeted it out saying this is going to be the largest protest. They're doing it in Frisco, Texas, at a high school, and they're calling it Protect White Americans. And they're doing it in the parking lot at some high school, I guess. Maybe it's Wakefield High School. And then at the bottom, it says it's started by an organization that Jake Lang, a January 6th survivor, someone that did the time and someone that I respect, someone we've had on the show. They're saying he started the Protect White Americans movement. And I read this and saw this, and I was like, oh, here we go. Charlottesville 2.0. And so I tweeted out with the banner and Matt Wallace, this is a mistake. This is Charlottesville 2.0. It's January 6th all over again. I get the motivation, but this isn't the right approach. Just because Trump is in office doesn't mean there won't be paid, fed agitators there to spark violence. Trump was in office on January the 6th, or he was being moved out of office on January 6th, and he was definitely in office in 2017 during the Charlottesville hoax. And I believe the Charlottesville hoax was Unite the Right, I believe, based on my memory. And that's why this here is exactly where they want you to be. Unite the White. And that's what this is. And I'm not saying there's anything particularly evil about that. It's just not the right approach. It's what have I said since April 2nd, and what have I been saying for 3-4 years on this show? They're trying to bait you into their identity politics and the Marxist tactics that have got us where we are today. More racially divided than at any point in my 57 years of life. We're going the wrong direction. As people start saying, hey, you know what the solution is? Let's be more like the racial idolaters who are black. Let's be racial idolaters who are white. Let's unite the white. And here's the issue, and I'm really going big picture here, and you got to stick with me to understand it. But this matrix that they've built, this social media matrix, when they've turned many people into influencers and people that want to build an audience. Now, people, instead of developing some sort of skill and moving into a career or building something, a business based on services, people all want to have an audience. They all want to be their own little celebrities. They all are being captured by their audience. And what is, and this isn't something that's new I'm saying today. I've said it when I was talking about Nick Fuentes, last week, couldn't be this week, Skap's been in town. Last week, what's the easiest way to build an audience? What's the secret sauce? Me, when I was younger, because of his calls for self-reliance and self-responsibility and, hey, clean yourself up, black man, take care of yourself, take care of your family, be more responsible. The accountability that Louis Farrakhan called for is what attracted me to following his work and following his speeches. But what attracted the massive audience was the racial idolatry. White man is the devil. That's how you get an audience. And so Louis Farrakhan, the Million Man March, which I attended, big, massive numbers. And telling you, I'm there, and all I can do is speak for myself and what was in my heart. I'm there for the accountability and the self-responsibility and the masculinity that's being promoted. The big, massive crowd is there because of the racial idolatry. And so what you sing from a lot of black theologians, pastors, religious leaders, they have found racial idolatry irresistible. And so they'll sprinkle the word and biblical wisdom. They'll put a little dash of racial idolatry in there because that's the only way to build an audience. You can't, or it's more difficult. You can, but it's more difficult to build a massive audience with just the word. The Bible, Jesus Christ, already told us that. You'll be reviled for standing and walking with me. You will not be popular. You will be persecuted. You will not be celebrated. The world will hate you for standing with me. And so all of these mega church pastors, T.D. Jakes, they have to legitimize and preach a little racial idolatry. We're a little special group. We're a little chosen people. We've been victimized and oppressed, and we're victims here in America. Even though, just factually, if you're a Christian, you can't be a victim. He died on the cross so that you wouldn't be a victim. You are a victor, and the victory has been written and proclaimed by our Lord and Savior. We know how it ends, so you can't run around and be a victim. But the black church loves to preach about the victimhood of black people because that's how you get people in the door. And so now we're looking at white people and others that want an audience. The social media matrix has baited them into this. How do you make money on social media without a massive audience, a big audience? And so the shortcut to an audience is racial idolatry. And that's why someone like Nick Fuentes has an audience, and a powerful audience that will do anything he asks them to do. They'll harass whoever he wants harassed. He's mixed in the racial idolatry. And so now at this rally that they're planning in Frisco, Texas, I'm like, are you kidding? Did we learn nothing from January 6th? Did we learn nothing from Charlottesville? There will be agitators at this event. They're hoping to spark some kind of violent conflict. The Dominique Alexander, the Al Sharpton of that part of Texas, who has inserted himself into this conflict or this controversy about Karmelo Anthony's cold-blooded murder of Austin Metcalf. He's an agitator. He's been planted and installed. He's a criminal with a documented criminal history that goes back to 2009, including some child abuse issues that he had to spend a short period of time in jail for. 2009. Then he builds up this next generation action network. He names himself the Al Sharpton of Texas, of the Dallas and Frisco area in 2014, piggybacking off of the Michael Brown situation in Ferguson, Missouri. And now he's the advisor for the Karmelo Anthony family. And what did he do? What did I show y'all last week when he held a press conference and let off those little clues that one, I told you all that he let off clues like, oh man, when this video drops, it's going to be ugly. But the main thing he did was nail the Karmelo Anthony family to a cross. They're victims. They're facing all this racial harassment. People on social media are threatening their lives. Blah, blah. He put them on a cross. He made them victims. He defined them as victims. This was intentional. He's stirring the racial division. He's putting in place, he's putting in place or helping create the atmosphere for great racial conflict. And so when I started talking about this Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony situation, I believe he got murdered on April 2nd. I believe we started talking about this on April 3rd. My instinct said, oh, they're going to use this incident to spark racial conflict. And I said this, and I'm not bragging, I'm just trying to keep it factual. I was on top of this Karmelo Anthony situation and talking about it before it really became national. You go back and look at my first tweets on this. This was before it became a big deal. It was right at the very outset. And then we came on this show, or I came on this show and was like, heads up here. They found the issue and the conflict they've been looking for, because white people are going to be justifiably outraged. Did you hear my words? Justifiably outraged that a 17-year-old with a very bright future, who's a Christian, captain of his football team, got murdered in cold blood for telling another 17-year-old, hey man, you're in the wrong seat, you're in the wrong area. And then they had a little verbal conflict, and the next thing you know, Austin Metcalf gets stabbed in the heart. I don't blame white people for being outraged. You know why? Because I was outraged. And everybody with an ounce of justice in their heart, with an ounce of morality in their heart, should be outraged every time a child is killed in a cold-blooded fashion over perceived disrespect. Anybody with a brain and an ounce of morality should be outraged. Just because a certain demographic with darker skin has learned to accept and has normalized the violence that comes out of disrespect culture doesn't mean everybody else should get on board with that. When the little black boy in Chicago gets killed tonight, this weekend, because someone felt disrespected, we should be outraged. We've learned, we've been programmed, we've been normalized into a behavior where we don't care. And so the fact that suburban white folks in Texas and around the country are like, wow, this is a tragedy. That could be my son. We're out here in the suburbs. We done made all this money. I got educated. I did the right things at work so that I can move out to these communities that are less crime-ridden and aren't filled with this hip-hop black culture that everybody else seems to be celebrating. I moved out here to get away from that. I want kids to have kid conflicts. Oh, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony got in a little conflict about a seat and someone got punched? Oh, I can deal with that. That sounds like what I experienced in high school. But when someone gets stabbed in the heart and dies in the arms of his twin brother at 17 years old, you should be outraged. And then when people start rallying around the kid that committed the cold-blooded murder, and they create the impression that, oh, this was a case of self-defense. And then they create the perception that, oh, black people are just throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at Karmelo Anthony and his family. And I'm not trying to be funny here. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. I'm trying to keep it 100% real here. I do not buy the narrative that black people financially have rallied around Karmelo Anthony and given $450,000 to a Give, Send, Go campaign. Never get me to believe it. You talking about a demographic that won't tip anywhere. Go out to eat, $200-300 check, $5 tip, and justify it by saying, well, you didn't refresh my water quick enough. My steak was, it was one temperature, it was 1 degrees below what I prefer to eat it at. I'm only giving a $5 tip. Oh, this white waitress didn't smile at me the way that she did these white customers, and so I'm only giving a $5 tip. You can get mad at me if you want to, but we've all seen it. We've all lived it. I dated a woman every time we went out to eat, and she was from Mississippi and educated, had a good job. Every time we went out anywhere and got waited on by a white person, she gave them absolute hell. Absolute hell. So much hell that, and this is a true story, and we knew each other, we were dating for an extended period, but I got so frustrated with like, hey, I'm not gonna call her name, but hey, you gotta cut this out. These people ain't done nothing wrong, blah, blah, blah. And, and she, she was staticky, typical black woman, ain't no male leadership that she's got to respect. Even I'm footing the bill, the whole night. She ain't got to, so she's trying to explain to me how bad white people treated her family in Mississippi and blah, blah, blah. I was like, hey, and this is, let's say 3 months in. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I pretended like I walked to the bathroom, got in my car and drove off. So we've all seen it and know it. And you think that demographic is writing checks to Karmelo Anthony and his family? I don't buy it. These are NGOs. These are leftist organizations. This is Act Blue. This is George Soros. These are agitators because they want to frustrate white people. They want to promote a racial conflict. This is calculated and orchestrated. And so what do they do next to trigger more people? Have you not seen online all the stories of Karmelo Anthony and his family? They've bought a $900,000 house and a 2020 or a new Cadillac Escalade with the money they received from the Give, Send, Go. This information is being put out over X to trigger people, to raise the temperature. Let's think it through. And this is like, where are the community notes? Somehow the community notes have magically disappeared as it relates to this psyop they're doing with Karmelo Anthony. Because I've seen other information. And before this whole story came out, I was like, well, hold on, man. I've done talked to people that live in Frisco, Texas. I told y'all I talked to one person that lives in Frisco, Texas that knew Karmelo Anthony and knew Austin Metcalf. And I was told off the rip, hey, these people already live in a house that's more than $500,000. And they live in a very nice neighborhood. One person said that it was a gated community already. And so I don't buy this story. And then I've read that the Cadillac Escalade they've owned since 2023. But they're putting out this false information because a psyop is going on. And I'm not seeing community notes to shut down the psyop, to shut down the bad information. They want everyone riled up. They want everybody saying, man, you see black folks gave $500,000 to Karmelo Anthony, and have you read the comments on the Give, Send, Go? And because I believe that that's AI with most of these comments. If you look at the language, someone tweeted me today, goes, look at the language and the sentence structure and the punctuation. It's all very consistent. And so I want you to hear me out. I'm not saying black people aren't rallying around Karmelo Anthony, because they are. Now, I believe most black people don't know or don't really care, but online, we've certainly created the perception that we are all on board with Karmelo Anthony. And that we, and I'm about to shift gears here a little bit, we are playing the OJ card. And that Karmelo Anthony is about to be the new OJ Simpson. We're playing the OJ card. Y'all remember OJ, accused of murdering Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. And black people celebrated when OJ got off. And I'm not 1,000% that OJ was the actual killer, but I certainly wasn't celebrating when OJ got off, because OJ had something to do with that crime. And everybody knows it and knew it. And OJ was someone who, again, got to play the race card when he avoided black people at all costs. But we celebrated it. We paid the white man back. OJ got off. We're celebrating that 2 white people were murdered, or I'm sorry, 1 white person and a Jewish white person. I believe Goldmans are Jewish. We're celebrating it. That's racial idolatry. And we've learned nothing from that 1994, 1995 case. We're doing it again with Karmelo Anthony. Unbelievable, unreal. And so I understand why white people are frustrated. But why would you adopt the same tactics, racial idolatry, as the people you allegedly oppose? This is a psyop. They want people to go, hey, we're going to peacefully protest in Frisco, Texas. And then they're going to have their agitators there, just like they had their agitators in Charlottesville. And then the legacy media ran wild, and Trump said there were good people on both sides. And these white racists sparked a deadly conflict and ran over people in cars and blah, blah. It was all a hoax. January 6th, a hoax, with Nick Fuentes and Ray Epps. This way to the Capitol. We've broken the barricades. Let's go. They're doing it again. And many of you all, hey, we won the election November 5th. All the momentum is on our side. We won. No, no, no. We won a small battle, or a significant battle, but the war is not over by any stretch. They're doubling down, and they have Karmelo Anthony. He's the new O.J. Simpson. He's the new George Floyd. And we're falling for the trap. We're falling for all the triggers. Oh, they're buying new cars and new houses with this money. And then it comes out, they haven't withdrawn a dime. And so people on the other side, see, they've done nothing wrong, blah, blah. And it's just back and forth. No community notes to clean up any of this, because they don't have to withdraw a dime to spend the money or to take out loans on the money. But at the end of the day, what is crystal clear to anybody with a brain is that Karmelo Anthony did something murderous, immoral, and stupid. And the people that want to promote a racial conflict have clearly reached out to the family and said, we got 30 pieces of silver and we'll help you out as long as you all allow us to use you in the manner that we need you to be used to spark this racial conflict. And so they're not telling Karmelo Anthony's family what I just said clearly. They're just saying, hey, we're here to help. We think Karmelo was self-defense too, and it's a shame, and he shouldn't lose his life, and we got to get these first-degree murder charges dropped so that Karmelo only does 5 years, and we're on your side. You shouldn't lose your child. Yes, he made a mistake, but he was being bullied. And so 2 parents that have made their child an idol and just again, can't even comprehend or deal with the fact that they raised a child that committed cold-blooded murder. They're willing to do anything, and they're willing to be used in any way as long as their child comes home. And because many of you are idolatrous and think, hey, I'll do anything for my kids. I don't care what they do. I'll do anything for them. You're on board with what they're doing. They're just pawns on a chessboard being moved around by the globalists and the people that want this country to devolve into racial conflict. I gotta take a pause here and spew a little positive energy into this show and into this so I can calm down. But I'm not done yet. And Jay and Shemeka, be patient with me because I'm not close to done yet, because this is critically important. And so I have to do this. This racial conflict that they're trying to spark, we could be 2 days away from it with this rally that they're planning in Frisco, Texas, April 19th. But we're in Easter season, we're in resurrection season, we're in celebration of the sacrifice that Jesus Christ made for all of us so that we can enjoy life and freedom and salvation. And every child in the womb of a mother right now deserves and is owed a shot at life, owed a shot at the pursuit of holiness, owed a shot at living out the purpose that God has for him or her. God knows them in the womb. Preborn supports that worldview, that life begins at conception, and they provide ultrasounds for expectant mothers who are considering abortion, introduce that baby's heartbeat, introduce an image of that baby inside the womb. Now the mother is twice as likely to choose life. You want to know what you can do this Easter season to improve this world, to make yourself feel good, to put a little smile on God's face about your actions? Give to Preborn. It's an awesome organization. What a great Easter gift you could give to God by saving a baby's life. It's just $28 to pay for an ultrasound. Once that woman has an ultrasound, she's more than twice as likely to choose life. And then Preborn comes in and supports that mother through the pregnancy and through up to the first 2 years of that baby's life outside of the womb. 2 ways to give: pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or go to preborn.com/fearless. That's the way I prefer to give. Preborn.com/fearless. Do the right thing every day. But during the Easter season, breathe life into a baby through your actions, through your support of Preborn. That would be awesome. All right, so I've told you about the Unite the White rally, the Protect White Americans rally, and I just want to be crystal clear in terms of, man, I get why you're frustrated. I get why you're outraged. 17-year-old kid with a bright future and seems to have all the right values, dies in the arms of his twin brother. Some kid filled up on this disrespect culture, caught up in this hip-hop black culture, kills a 17-year-old boy because they have a little conflict about a seat and where Karmelo Anthony shouldn't be sitting. I get it. I get what you've gone through, or what many white evangelicals and just white people have gone through the last decade, the last 10, 15 years, from Trayvon Martin to Michael Brown to you're the evil people of the world and the police are killing this person and that person. I get it. I understand your emotion, but you cannot give in to emotion and emotionalism. You have to be strategic. This Unite the White movement, this Protect White Americans movement on Easter weekend, this ain't the play. You're being set up. And here's the other reason why I believe you're set up. I'm about to play a clip from a guy that I follow on Twitter and have followed on Twitter. And these are the kind of the smoke signals that I keep seeing, that it's like, hey man, buttons are being pressed and people are being manipulated and used in ways that they don't fully understand, but it's all coming to the same conclusion. And so here you are with a clear case of cold-blooded murder. Every piece of information that we know at this point is like, wow, this doesn't make sense. Someone brought a knife to a verbal conflict. Someone pulled a knife and stabbed someone in the heart because he put his hands on me, he touched me. This is cold-blooded murder. This is 17-year-olds. This is what happens in the inner city every day and should outrage us in the inner city every single day. I get the frustration. What I don't get is why many people in this, the black community are looking around like, what are white people upset about? This happens in the inner city all the time. And just because you've accepted that level of violence doesn't mean sane people should. But I'm looking at so-called black conservatives go out of their way to find a way to 50-50 this case. And just, hey, we just want to let it play out in the courts. Let's see what happened. It may have been self-defense. You don't put your hands on anybody. Everybody knows that. And you know what I'm really concerned about is the way white conservatives are reacting. That's what's interesting here. White conservatives aren't saying all the right things over the murder of Austin Metcalf. Let's talk about that. And I'm seeing this, and I'm seeing this, and I'm going, hey man, these people have no moral compass. They have a political compass. And so everything is looked at through a political lens. And all the conversation immediately goes to, hey, I thought we were united over politics. This feels like betrayal. This is going to hurt the politics of the situation. And this is why there is no alliance based on politics. There is no real alliance based on conservative and liberal. There is no alliance based on race. Alliances are about faith and shared values. Those are real alliances. Oh, we share a faith, and we share the same values, and we believe in the same things. And so my standard isn't, what are the conservatives doing or what are liberals doing? Hey, it's what does God say I should be doing? Let's go to the Bible when we're looking for standards and we're trying to evaluate any situation. Too many people, black and white, have been programmed to look at everything through a political lens, and it's tearing this country apart. I've been following this guy, like this guy, but I watched this video from Malcolm Flex, and I was perplexed. Like, what is he talking about? What is he doing? Take them political goggles off. A 17-year-old boy was stabbed and murdered in cold blood. Just as a moral person, you should be outraged. Play the clip.
There's this weird epidemic that's now sprouted up amongst the right. And I understand it's always been there, this weird racialist narrative on the right, and it was simmering. For those of you that were back, around 2016 or so, you remember they always tried to call the right racist, and the right would say, no, we're not racist, but we just want, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was reasonable. Well, fast forward to 2024 and beyond, and we won the election, and guess what? People stopped caring, and this little faction, this racialist faction on the right, they saw their opportunity to spring up. And a lot of people might think I'm just saying this because of the Karmelo Anthony saga, and I'm not. It's not even about Carmelo Anthony. Honestly, truth be told, I could give a damn about Carmelo Anthony or Austin Metcalf. And I'm sorry if that hurts many of you guys that want me to be pissed off, that want me to be emotionally involved, that want me to say, yeah, that's our black king, or, oh my God, how dare this animal kill that poor, young, noble white man. I'm not going to say either of that. You know why? Because this is a private case between teenagers and violence, and it's been adjudicated in the court of law. What I will say is some of the behavior that I'm seeing out of people on the right, people that, again, many of us used to stand shoulder to shoulder. Like, God dang, man, how easily psyoped are you people? In this situation, one of the worst things you can do is to draw a line on a racial basis, to draw this proverbial line in the sand and have it be between the whites and the blacks. So anything that you think that you're doing to help, any narratives that you think you're sowing, and I'm talking about you guys, the influencer class, the kind that will sell their soul for a bag of peanut M&Ms on Influenceable. You motherfuckers are, you're doing more harm than good. But I understand, though. It's a hard algorithm, right? And you gotta do what it takes to get those sweet, sweet engagement bucks. And appealing to the low IQ crowd just helps. But understand, you're not helping your case. And you're not hurting me. No. You can call me the N-word. You can do whatever. I can give a damn about it. You're only hurting yourself and your guy, right? Your guys in Congress and in the White House. That's who you're hurting. So please, shape up, have some decorum, and understand when to just shut the fuck up and help yourself.
Everything is politics. And so there's kernels of truth in what he's saying. That, hey, Nick Fuentes, who calls himself the leader of America First, and the white nationalism or the white bigotry that he's giving into and trying to explain, that's a bad look for the Trump political movement. I get it. There's kernels of truth in what he's saying. But there are people, not named Nick Fuentes, not calling themselves groypers. And this is, I don't like all the coded speech. We're in a time where we need bold honesty, transparent honesty. I like this Malcolm Flex guy. But in order to be bold and honest and to be clear, and so people can hear me say, I got to call him out by name. And if he's got a problem with Nick Fuentes and the groyper, call him out by name. If that's what he's talking, maybe he's got a problem with Matt Walsh, call him out by name. Put the details on it so we can understand what it is people are doing that's bothering you. But if you're not going to do it, it's all going to be coded, and then you're going to say things like, I don't give a damn about either of these kids. Well, really? One kid is 17 and dead. Life snatched from him over a verbal dispute about a kid sitting in an area where he didn't belong. And this is the mentality that has made black zip codes virtually unlivable, because people adopt that mentality. I don't care about any of them. So, someone got killed? I don't care. What did he say? This is a private case between teenagers? That people don't have a right to say, hold on, they're bringing that behavior out to my neighborhood? They're bringing this disrespect culture, this I'm bringing a knife to a track meet just in case something jumps off? People don't have a right to object to that and say, hey, man, that's not how we play these games out here in this zip code. We don't want to do the ghetto, we kill each other at the drop of a hat deal. Responsible parents have a right to be upset and frustrated, and people, their concerns need to be addressed, not dismissed. If you're really interested in tamping down the tension, if you're really interested in bringing people under the same umbrella and getting back to a merit-based, content of character-based society, you got to address these people and their frustrations and point them a better direction. That we have to get back to shared biblical values, or we're going to continue to descend into nihilism. And we're going, this culture of, hey, I feel disrespected, let me turn emotional and violent, is going to continue to spread. And we must find allies deeper than, hey, we both voted for Trump. Or we're both pretending to be America first. Those alliances fall apart at the drop of a hat. Those alliances bend to money. The only thing, the only alliances, the only values that have a chance of surviving, being bought and paid for, are biblical values. And those, the Bible is crystal clear. People will take money and it's to sacrifice their biblical values. But there are some of us, or some of these people, that will not be like, man, I'm gonna get crossways with God if I do that, so now I'm gonna pass up on that money. There are people that do that. I'm trying to do it. I've done it in some instances. I'm trying, there's audience in racial idolatry. There's money in racial idolatry. Black and white all drink out of the idolatry cup to build an audience. And I'm looking at people turn that direct. This makes no sense to me. It's like, hey, I have a code of morality that I have to adhere to. And I'm just a kid getting stabbed in the heart over a verbal dispute and another kid touching his backpack or arm. I just can't do it. I can't go there, and I don't see how people are. And so I want to play put a clip of this Dominique Alexander, this person that's been working on behalf of the Karmelo Anthony family, and how the Karmelo Anthony family is clearly playing the race card. Or there's no way they would hire a Dominique Alexander or let Dominique Alexander speak on their behalf. And I want you to watch this video and then think about this rally that they're trying to hold in Frisco, Texas in 2 days. And trust me, because Dominique Alexander is baby Al Sharpton, baby Ben Crump, he's got to show up at that rally. And he needs to spark some sort of conflict to elevate his own profile so that he can continue to play the racial card and keep making more money and getting more attention for himself. He's looked at Ben Crump, an idiot, make plenty of money doing this. He's looked at Al Sharpton, in and out of the White House in the Obama administration, television show on MSNBC, make plenty of money with the racial idolatry and showing up at racial conflict events and stirring emotion and triggering people. And this is who the Karmelo Anthony family has allowing to speak for their son and helping him orchestrate. You know what? First, we're going to play the walkout point of view video. Let's play SOT number 2. This is Dominique Alexander, someone with a criminal history, going back to 2009, shaking a baby and injuring a baby, his girlfriend's 2-year-old baby, had to go to jail for that for just a short period of time, but that's 2000. Bunch of other criminal offenses. It's because I stand up to the white man and live. That's why I have all these criminal, and I've been in and out of jail. This is a common criminal that is being pushed out there and installed as some sort of racial leader, and he's trying to profit off of, build a brand off of Karmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old who murdered another 17-year-old child. And now they're filming, and again, they're treating this like it's the Colorado football team and Deion Sanders. We're taping and filming everything. We're creating content off the back of a 17-year-old who's been accused of murder. Play shot number 2.
All right. All right. Come on, man. Just follow the behind us. Just stay close, okay?
Karmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say, Karmelo? Do you have anything that you'd like to say to the victim, to the family of the victim? Why were you armed, sweetheart? Karmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Excuse me.
Karmelo, anything you'd like to say?
For the sake of the community that's donated.
So why they got somebody with glasses on and a camera taping this and releasing this? Why are you doing that? Why is one of their lawyers, I believe his last name's Howard, why is he telling the media, hey, they're moving to a new neighborhood, they need all this additional security? Why are they doing this? Why are they being public about anything? They're stirring emotion and trying to trigger people. And the social media matrix. I just had a friend of mine that lives in Frisco, Texas, reach out to me and just question like this whole rally and protest of like, hey, Jay, he's saying, be a tiny bit careful here. This protest that allegedly is being promoted. And again, I got this off social media from the Matt Wallace that puts out a lot of stuff, some of it true, some of it untrue or whatever. But my friend in Frisco is saying, be a tiny bit careful because there is no Wakefield High School in Frisco. There's a Wakeland High School, and maybe they just made a typo and put out the wrong information. I don't know. But even this rally and putting out this information about a rally, this could be part of just stirring emotions and trying to gin up enough emotion that if there is a rally, and I've had a lot of people this morning on Twitter, what do you mean white people don't have a right to protest? Only black people can protest, and we got to draw a line in the sand. And the line in the sand we need to be drawing, particularly on Easter, is like, we all need to submit. Every single one of us, all of us, need to submit. And if we don't return to some biblical values in this country, and if we don't base our alliances on biblical values in this country, if we keep giving into race-based alliances, that's mutually assured destruction. That's where we're headed. I want to play you, if they have this rally, any type of protest, Dominique Alexander, career criminal, running around like he's baby MLK, when he's really baby Al Sharpton, baby Ben Crump, an ambulance chaser that just wants dollars and wants to build a brand for himself off the back of two 17-year-olds, one murdered and one a murderer. This is why you put a career criminal in this position. He has no morals. He has few options. If he has to do this type of grift, let me inflame people along racial lines, and I get to collect checks. He's looking at Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, look how much money they made. They're flying around private. They're doing this or that. They're celebrated. They're treated as important by politicians. That's what Dominique Alexander's doing. I want to, if this protest happens, Dominique Alexander and his group will be there, and they will spark conflict. This is part of his DNA. This is who he is. This is 2020, this video I'm going to play you, of Dominique Alexander at a Trump rally that Shemeka was at. And look what he kicked off. He's the guy that's about to get slammed to the ground by security in this video. Play the clip.
Don't put your hands on me, bro. Don't put your fucking hands on me, bro. Don't put your fucking hands on me, bro. Hey, guys, get him out. Get him out. I'm right here, Cody. Here goes the police. Here goes the police. Get out of here. Call Allison and Chief out. Y'all better not put me in handcuffs. That's bullshit.
That's Dominique Alexander doing what he's paid to do. Cause chaos, provoke conflict. This thing is all a setup. Karmelo Anthony is a tool being used, a tragedy being used. Hey, how many pandemics and orchestrated chaotic situations can they create that we all fall for? And then takes a year or two later, oh, we were wrong. COVID was just the flu, and we shouldn't have taken this vaccine, and I certainly shouldn't have taken 5 boosters. How many of these things we got to fall for? How many of these Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, MLK impersonators do we have to fall for before we go like, hey, this isn't working? All this does is keep me agitated and blaming white people instead of seeing the opportunity that is out here for me in America. All this does is distract me and distract us from the real issues facing America. How this globalist Marxist agenda is destroying our freedoms. Instead, hey, let's gin up a controversy. Let's take a cold-blooded murder and let's use our minstrel clown influencers, these wannabe pretend ministers and activists. Let's use them to stir up racial conflict so no one ever focuses in on the real problems. It's racism. No, it's your rejection of biblical values. It's your rejection of marriage and the family structure that God prescribes. That's why your children are out of control. That's why they're easily triggered and emotional. That's why you're so dependent on big pharma to correct every problem in your home and in your life. You want a pill for everything. That's why women out of control, out of their role. The doctor in your home should be called mama. She can prevent more disease, can reduce dysfunction just by what she's feeding you. She should be your doctor, Dr. Mama, but instead she's out in the workforce as a single mama, ignoring her kids, or out in the workforce as a married mama, ignoring her kids and turning the care of her kids over to doctors who aren't nearly as smart as they pretend to be, doctors who are dependent upon big pharma to make money, child care providers, daycare providers. Everybody else gets to play doctor with your child and with you, man. The husband, the father. That woman should be your doctor by what she prepares for you in that home. What you eat, the peace that you feel at home, it's all been disrupted and destroyed because women want to play men rather than play doctor in their own home. They have one of the most important jobs ever invented. We've allowed a psyop to convince them that sitting in a cubicle and making $90,000 a year is more important than making sure the things that go into that child's mouth will save his life, improve his health, prevent him from ever needing these 50 vaccines that they want to pump into their kids. And then you wonder why your kids are autistic. You wonder why they have all kinds of health issues. The doctor is outside of the home, playing doctor for some big corporation for money. And I know the feminists don't want to hear it. And, oh, what do you mean? I got the greatest doctor. He prescribes me every pill I want and need and tells me my son has ADD or ADHD or whatever it's called, and my daughter has anxiety and this, that. And she got anxiety because you ain't at home and you haven't put the right food in her. If the doctor's home, the kids, like me, don't get dependent on McDonald's, White Castle, Burger King, Wendy's, and every other fast food poison that your doctor mama has to feed you because she wants to be a man. Not a doctor. Not the primary care physician that allows men and women to develop properly in the home. No one wants to talk about that because it's much easier to say, racism. White people are the problem. Black people are the problem. Can't even address the real issues. This whole activist, have y'all, and I'm not going to show you the video, but have y'all seen this Deshaun Leith deal? The black activist, community organizer that ended up getting killed by police on the side of a highway. And I believe this was in early April, late March, but the initial story was, oh, there go the police again. An unarmed black man, a community activist that was doing so much good in the hood. This is another one of these activists in and out of prison that got his activist degree while locked up, incarcerated, came out, and now he's an activist teaching young black boys how to protest injustice. R.I.P. King Deshaun Leith. Then they dropped the video. And Deshaun Leith done beat up this police officer, stolen his car, taking people on an 11-minute police chase. He gets tased, walks through getting tased, and eventually the white cop comes to his senses and says, I got to put this clown down. This whole act, how many okie dokes are we going to fall for? All these activists. And they ran Barack Obama. He's a community organizer. And so now everybody wants to be a community organizer and an activist. And that's my job. That's your hustle. That's your grift. These are clowns. They're MK Ultras. They're installed. They play a certain role to gin up racial conflict. And black people and white people got talked into the psyop of just put body cameras on all the police. That'll fix it. And I try to tell y'all, and I believe my memory is a little bit fuzzy, but I know I try to tell you, and I think Royce White tried to tell y'all on this show, like, man, you start putting cameras on all these police officers, and I know I told y'all this. Put it on the police officers, you put them on the cars. Now in these high crime neighborhoods where a lot of black people live in these zip codes, you've turned your whole community into a surveillance operation. There's cameras everywhere. You have no right to privacy. And white folks right now are celebrating. Thank God there was a surveillance camera on this police officer. Now we know the truth and we don't have to. And so now everybody's like, hey, cameras, cameras, cameras. More cameras, cameras, cameras. And the people backing Planeteer and the people backing AI and robots, they got you right where they want you. Cameras, 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 more surveillance. No privacy. No freedom of speech. You're being baited and set up for traps everywhere because you want to protect your delusion that somehow, you know what? We don't need families. We don't need fathers. We don't need married couples. We can build a community of, I forget what the BLM people call it or whatever, but we can build a community of women and the matriarchy. A village. A village will raise our child. We need a village. You need mama and daddy. God already done ruled on this. Quit questioning it. Quit thinking, I got a better solution. If we get a village, and you know what? We'll give 2 men that call themselves married. We'll give them a baby, and that'll be all right. We'll give 2 women and give them a baby and call that a family, and it'll be all right. No, it won't. It will create the chaos that we have right now. And so I'm going to try to land this plane, bring Shemeka into the conversation, and let me try to land the plane here. There's a minister in Atlanta that is right now in the middle of some controversy. I just heard about him yesterday. I was watching a Marcus Rogers video, and he was talking about Jamie Foxx was on somebody's YouTube page criticizing this black minister named Philip Anthony Mitchell from Atlanta. I believe his church is called 2819 Church. Young dude, has a pretty big following, and he seems pretty fearless. My knowledge of him just came into focus last night. I don't know much about him because I was watching this Marcus Rogers video, and he was talking about Jamie Foxx, my favorite actor, entertainer, whatever. He's criticizing this Philip Anthony Mitchell because Philip Anthony Mitchell got behind his pulpit and told the absolute truth. And this is the way, not protest, not getting set up, not giving into racial idolatry, not unite the white, not white pride, not Karmelo, Simpson, not give sin goes and GoFundMe's protecting are supporting criminals, not giving in to all the misinformation and disinformation that's all over the social media matrix. Standing on your square and telling the boldest truth possible. This is the way. And there's no audience in this. The only people that do what I'm about to show you, I believe, from Philip Anthony Mitchell, are people that have an audience of one. And we've all been trained through this social media deal. You're seeking the biggest audience possible. That's where happiness and success in life is, if you can build the biggest audience possible. And what you have to be willing to do if you want to right this ship, if you want to save America, if you want to restore America to some semblance of sanity, you have to reduce it to an audience of one. And people will not like you. And you're sitting there saying, but Jason, you got 500 million YouTube followers. Have you reduced it to an audience of one? You got 850,000 Twitter followers. You got a big audience. And there's no legitimate person that could say that I've been captured by any audience. Because that's what happens. You build an audience through racial idolatry at a church or online. Now you're captured by that audience. And if you ever inch towards the truth, that audience that you've captured through racial idolatry or through whatever methods, through hip hop, through the promotion of sexual degeneracy and promiscuity. Because trust me, I had a much bigger audience and more reach when I used to promote sexual promiscuity, when I used to crack jokes about being sexually promiscuous and tell stories about I was at the strip club and this or that happened. Much bigger audience than that. But when you reduce it to one, you start losing. People get upset with you. Oh man, I came here because Jason would say X, Y, and Z, and now he ain't saying that, or he's saying something that contradicts that. I'm not comfortable, blah. People have been captured by their audience. If you mix in a biblical message with racial idolatry, you're eventually going to be serving racial idolatry and not God. And so it's going to be very interesting what happens to this young man, Philip Anthony Mitchell. Because, he gave a sermon that even Jamie Foxx, and this is down in Atlanta, even Jamie Foxx has got to hop on YouTube and be like, I ain't with this. What the heck is this? Because, a lot of people have liked this Philip Anthony Mitchell. But once he went here, once he started like, nah, you know what, this is how we need to rear up these black children. This is what they need to do. Play the clip.
Stop blaming white cops for the killing of black kids. Instead, teach your black children to be obedient towards authority. And I don't care if most of y'all are black. You need to teach your children to obey authority. We need to teach our sons and daughters to obey authority. We need to teach our children to not fight against authority, not fight against cops, not rebel. Be model citizens. Stop being rebellious towards authority. Be submitted to laws and ordinances.
Facts. And we don't want to say that. And it's beautiful to see a minister that will stand up in a pulpit. He's built a terrific audience, from what I understand, a terrific congregation. And young guys, appears to me, certainly younger than me. And he's telling his flock the truth. There's no respect for authority. There's no respect for anybody. And so that's just a small excerpt from his sermon. I don't know. I just found this dude last night. But you can't teach your children to respect authority if daddy ain't in the home. Because daddy has to be the authority. That's not me talking, that's the Bible talking. Man has to follow God. He has to submit to God and show respect for his heavenly Father and that authority. Then woman needs to follow man who's following God. Because she can't do it. She's lied to herself. and her friends have lied to her, and the feminist movement has lied to her, and she's been fooled by, oh, look, there's a perception because she hits the lottery with one of her sons or daughters, and they get successful, and the next thing you know, they're taking care of mama, and mama's sitting there like, well, I did everything right. My child has provided me everything that I want and need. She's not thinking like, oh, I done disobeyed God. And these fruits that I'm eating off of, experiencing, they're not from God. They're from guilt or the love of a child, but they're not from God. And she doesn't care. And so I would imagine this man is telling his flock, if you want your kids to bow to authority, you better put a man in this house. Or you better be on your knees constantly praying for a miracle from the Holy Spirit that your child just comes across it on accident, or God's like got a purpose and I'm gonna give it to him, or that that child better have a relationship with his father of some kind. Because all these little boys and girls running around here that don't know nothing but mama, they're out of control. They're on camera twerking and doing anything they can for attention. They're out of control. They're underachieving academically. Last thing, and I promise you I'm gonna land the plane, but this whole attention, this whole everybody trying to build an audience. I saw a video on Instagram this morning, and this appeared to be like some 55-year-old woman, white woman, relatively attractive for 55. Sorry to say it, but attractive for 55. And she was, according to what I saw, she appears to be some sort of grandmother or whatever. And she was on camera in some shorts twerking for the camera because she wants to build an audience on Instagram or TikTok or wherever she was doing this. I'm like, this is grandmama in some booty shorts twerking on camera. Doing a little dance, and everybody loves to dance, and it's all harmless. And she turned around and started twerking, and I was like, everybody's submitting to the world. Everybody wants a massive audience. No one or few people are putting out content for one. No one wants an audience of one. We want massive audiences. And because the price of pursuing an audience of one is too high, I guess, in this world. Shemeka, get ready. I'm coming to you. Want your thoughts on this. Before I do that, I want to talk to you guys about Field of Greens. What's the unhealthiest meal, snack, or dessert you've eaten lately? Now, for me, it's not too. I'm only eating once a day, but I do like my meals at Hall's, and I probably there is not broccoli. It's not Brussels sprouts. Whew, they got a little bacon in. They put in some sort of sauce. I love it. I know it's not healthy. I love it. Had it last week. All of us, many of us, have crazy schedules that make eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables impossible. I don't always eat healthy. I am only eating once a day, but I don't always eat healthy. That's why doctors created Field of Greens. A delicious glass of Field of Greens daily is like nutritional armor for your body. Each fruit and vegetable was doctor selected for a specific health benefit. There's a heart health group, lungs and kidney groups, metabolism, even healthy weight. I love the energy I get with Field of Greens, but most of all, I love the confidence that even if I have a cheat day, maybe a burger, I'm gonna have some ground beef tonight, probably put a little cheese in there. But I already know I've been covered by Field of Greens. It's the nutrition my body needs daily, and only Field of Greens makes you this better health promise. Your doctor will notice your improved health or your money is back. Let me get you started with my special discount, 20% off your first order. Just use the promo code FEARLESS at fieldofgreens.com. That's promo code FEARLESS at fieldofgreens.com. Shemeka Michelle, next.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. There's something bad going on with American men. It's been obvious for a while. It's measurable in a million different ways, but it's also right in front of your face. We have a massive problem with American men, and very few people have even bothered to notice, much less take it seriously. One of them is my friend Jason Whitlock in Nashville, who I've known for a long time and really love. He's decent and smart and totally fearless. And for that reason, I'm joining him on Friday, May 2nd in Nashville for the Roll Call 3.0 conference. And I literally can't wait to do it. I'm flying down just for that, and I'm excited for it because I think this really matters, and I think Jason is wise on the subject. So I'm there to talk, but also to learn, and I hope to see you there.
Join us at Fearless Roll Call 3.0. Real men, real conversations, real purpose. Tickets at fearlessrollcall.com.
Shemeka Michelle, welcome back to the show. And I want to start with Dominique Alexander, because I believe you were at that 2020 Trump rally where he tried to commandeer the stage. Things got violent, or anyway. What is your memory of that? What can you tell us about Dominique Alexander?
Actually, Jason, I was speaking at the time. I was the one that he felt like he didn't like what I was saying. He didn't like that a Black woman was actually talking at this rally. It was a Rescue America rally, which was done by the Walkaway campaign. But those of us who actually supported Trump at the time, we were speaking out about it. And he didn't like that. He actually had set up speakers and a microphone to kind of counter what we were saying. And he didn't actually have much to say until I took the mic. So initially, you know, I was asking him, how can you, because there were also some Black Lives Matter people in the audience asking me, was I Black? Clearly, you know, I'm Black, but they were asking me, are you Black? Because they didn't like what I had to say. And he was telling me that I should be supporting Black Lives Matter opposed to being at this rally. And I was saying to him, Black Lives Matter only support straight Black men when they're dead. How can I get behind this if I say that I love Black men and I love Black people? Why would I ever support Black Lives Matter who want to completely eradicate the point or the purpose of Black men and their position in our communities? And so he didn't like what I had to say. And so it was making him angry that I was not actually coming to his side or giving in to him. So he wanted to try and approach me on this, you know, on the stage. So he was actually trying to get to me and come towards me, but security stopped him from doing that. So that's what you see on camera. I'm actually right in front of the little white backdrop that you see. It was something different on the other side because I was the one speaking and he was trying to get to me. So he had him and his Black Lives Matter followers who just did not like the fact that there was a Black woman there who was speaking against Black Lives Matter.
If they have some sort of rally in Texas, I would have to think Dominique Alexander will be there. If he was trying to stop you from talking at a Trump rally, he'll certainly be at this deal, and he'll be there to agitate. What do you think of my take that, like, hey, man, some sort of Protect White People rally in Frisco, Texas would likely be some sort of trap with agitators there to spark conflict, and we would have a Charlottesville 2.0.
Yeah, it's so crazy because I don't think anybody is learning from the past. We've seen that this doesn't work. We've seen that they'll put the feds out, January 6th, Charlottesville, and it'll just be a big, complete mess. I don't even think we've learned anything from Black Lives Matter, the way that we actually would just go ahead and throw a bunch of money into a situation. Like, I don't know. For me, I'm not sending money to anybody that I can't verify this is exactly what you're doing with the money. I have to be able to put my hands on the person that's actually using this money. I'm just not doing that. I get stuff all the times, even still, from the Trump campaign, and I voted for Trump. We're trying to raise this money. I'm not giving it. So I do think that it's a bad thing. And I just feel like we have not learned anything from the last 4, 5, 6 years. We continue to do the same silly things over and over and over again. And as I was telling you this morning, it's frustrating me, the whole division when it comes to the black and white thing. And my frustration is with the estimated annual incidences with white on white teens, it's 300. Black on black teens is 1,200. So everybody wants me to, say, oh, this is okay. If I say this is okay, then I have to say the 1,200 black young people that lose their lives every year is also okay, because I'm pretty sure there was some disrespect that led to those deaths as well. And it's just not okay with me. What we have to understand when I'm listening to this Malcolm Flex, what we have to understand is what white people are really saying, and I'm a bottom line type of person. Y'all keep that monkey business over there. Now, if y'all want to kill each other, do that. Do that on your own time, but don't bring that monkey mess over here. Because what it seems to me is if we are okay with turning a blind eye to these type of situations. We just lost a 21-year-old here on Monday. He was found shot dead in his car. Him and one of my daughters were best friends in middle school. Towards high school, he started to hang with the wrong crowd, and they started to go their separate ways. But this is happening way too much. And the same way I can't justify his murder, I can't justify the murder of Austin Metcalf. I'm tired of the thought that we lack so much, we lack conflict resolution skills, that murder is what we turn to. I'm tired of us losing, and 1,200 black teens a year, that's a lot. And we got to stop, trying to make it okay because it's a race thing. I'm concerned about that 1,200 number. It's 4 times more than white teens killing each other. That's a lot. And that's what we need to be focused on, because it's not okay. We need to teach our kids conflict resolution skills. When this little boy, because he's a little boy to me, was murdered on Monday, I actually heard a grown woman say, I'm glad he died, because when this other person died some years ago, he thought it was funny. So this is his karma, and this is what he deserved. He deserved to be shot to death because he didn't take another death seriously. Not that he killed somebody. You felt like he should die because he was being disrespectful. And this is where we are, and it's not okay.
Help me understand the point, because I missed it, and I guess I could have asked Malcolm Flex to come on the show and explain himself. I'm reluctant to do that a lot of times because people just maybe say outrageous or confusing things just so you'll have him on the show. And so, again, I'm telling you, I followed him. I've tended to like him. But I'm seeing a lot of people trying to both sides this Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony situation. and it just seems crazy to me. What did you think of what Malcolm Flex was saying, or what was he trying to say about white conservatives and what they're saying? And I wish he had put some names and some evidence out there so we would know exactly what has upset him. Now, again, I'm being crystal clear. This Unite the White rally, as I'm calling it, protect, whatever it is, or if it happens, I'm objecting to that. I'm objecting to Nick Fuentes and his group trying to racialize everything and say black people are just inferior. I'm saying that, we have a poisonous culture that we've adopted, and that's biblical. Pagan cultures have been adopted by all sorts of groups throughout the history of time. I'm putting a name and saying, here's what I don't like, here's what we shouldn't do. I couldn't figure out what Malcolm Flex was trying to say, but I'm seeing others take the same position of like, hey, there's two sides to this, and let's just let the judicial system play out. Well, trust me, if a white kid had stabbed a black kid, I just don't think people would say, hey, just let the judicial system play out. Is that what we did with Derek Chauvin when George Floyd overdosed on fentanyl? Just let the judicial system play out. This is a private matter between George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. But now this is a private matter between a dead person, Austin Metcalf, and an alive person, Karmelo. And I can't make sense of it. What was your takeaway?
I do think it is an effort to not get pushback from black people, because black people want you to say Carmelo Anthony had every right to stand his ground, and Austin should not have put his hands on him. I do feel like there was a lack of conflict resolution skills on both parts. I honestly do. But if I justify this, like I said earlier, then I have to justify when black people kill other black people, and I just can't do it. I do feel like he's not looking at the big picture. And I was telling you this morning, I think there's this assumption that X, or formerly Twitter, is like real life. And that when he was talking about it's not going to look good for the right when the midterms come up and whatever, nobody's really on X looking to see how they're going to vote for the midterms, or they shouldn't be, rather. I'm pretty sure there are some idiots who look to see what their favorite influencer is saying. But that's not generally the case. And again, I just think that people are not looking at the real problem. It is a problem that we're losing so many black kids. We can pretend like we're not looking, and we can turn a blind eye to it and act like it's not happening because we don't want white people to know, but they know. And I think we're seeing them get so upset about this is because it's one thing for it to happen across town and it not be affecting your children. When it starts knocking on your front door, then it's a problem. They're saying, hey, y'all, if this is what you like, if this is the way that you want to live in your community, we think it's an issue, but apparently you all do not. Keep that over there. When it starts knocking on my front door, I have an issue with it. Obviously you have an issue with it. I have an issue with it, but it's so many black people that want to act as if it's not a thing, and it is a thing. I'm so tired of hearing white people kill white people too. Yes, because murder is usually intraracial. We understand that. But when you are killing each other at a higher rate, and we're losing way more people, that's a problem, and we should be focused on it, and we should all be outraged that this is the solution when somebody disrespects you. We should all be outraged because we shouldn't want it to happen to our kids. I wouldn't want, if I had a son, I wouldn't want my son to say, hey man, you're in the wrong tent, and get killed over it. Yes, I wouldn't want my son feeling like it's his duty to put his hands on somebody and physically remove them, but I just wouldn't be expecting them to die. And I don't think we're being realistic, oh, that's just, that's what happened. We are not our ancestors. We sound stupid. because we're losing these kids at a faster rate, and we are not our ancestors is not the right response.
I'm telling you, I feel like the give, send, go and the $450,000. You'll never convince me that black people are responsible for even 50% of that money.
Right.
Never convince me of that. Too cheap. Never convince me. But you'll never convince me that 30, 40% of the comments on Give, Send, Go, or even on Facebook or Twitter, many of those are algorithm-driven AI, I believe. And it's just to stir up. But what I do think is true is we've been so programmed for groupthink and racial groupthink as black people that once that momentum gets going, people start incorporating that into their talking points. Well, black people, we're all on the side of Karmelo Anthony, and he was being bullied. And, you know, Dominique Alexander has said that his family has faced death threats and blah, 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 and they have to move. And so that, you know, they have, it's like, well, hold on. Dominique Alexander said this. That's not a fact. And I'm sure that over Twitter or whatever there have been, or over Facebook there have been, but who knows who's sending them? We've seen so many of these psyops and so many fake hate crimes that could just be the algorithm sending that stuff, and they didn't because based on the statistics, if you go look at how often white people, which are the majority community in America, how often they kill black people, the percentage is low. It doesn't over-index. How often black people kill white people, it does over-index. And so is the Karmelo Anthony family really in jeopardy? I've seen no signs of that. And we can go, well, Emmett Till, well, that was 1955. Or what? All this stuff, the Tulsa Massacre, that was the 1920s or whenever it was. Cut it, this cosplay, this acting job to build an audience, to pretend like, oh, we're in so much fear, the white man's coming to get us, and the KKK. Now, the Crips and the Bloods are coming to get you. The gangster disciples are coming to get you. The vice lords are coming to get you. The MS-13 now are coming to get. That's the reality. And so this little fake world that's on the social media, it's a matrix, and I just don't buy everything that I'm seeing from the matrix, and that is happening both ways. Like the New York Post, I think some of the stories they printed about this have been irresponsible, because I've seen headlines that say, Karmelo Anthony buys new home. And I'm like, well, we can't even stick to the facts of, like, if they did buy a new home, that would be his parents, not him. So Karmelo Anthony's family moves or buys a new home, but they've been they've been doing wordplay. Everything they've been doing has been to stir up tension and animus. And I'm telling everybody, just be careful. Last thing I want to say, and I'm going to give you a final thought, Shemeka. Just got a text from a friend of mine that lives in Frisco that has reached out to the Wakeland High School. And the people at the school are like, hey, we haven't heard anything about it, but they're saying they're checking into it. They're on alert. This first time they saw the information. Again, this whole rally may be part of an overall psyop, just to gin up more racial tension. But this whole thing has been sad, disconcerting for me. And so I just had to talk about it today. We're going to bring Skap on and talk a little sports here to wrap up the show. But I'm freezing.
My question, Jason, is what are they trying to distract us from? I was really shocked that this this story got the legs that it did simply because it's not an election year. I've been saying, what are they distracting us from that they keep pushing these things and these stories out there? Like you said, talking about the house and talking about the car. I'm trying to figure out what I should really be focused on because I just don't know if this particular case is it. Like I said, when I looked at the statistics and I saw that annually 1,200 black teens, black on black, they're being killed. That's where my focus is, because that number is great. I just can't get with this whole black, white, I gotta be scared of white people, the white man is coming to kill us. I just can't be focused on that. Every mother that I have hugged who has lost a child has lost that child at the hands of another black teenager or another black person. I have never been in a situation where I've had to say, oh my God, you know, little Bryson came and killed little Tyrone. That's not what I'm used to. It's Pookie and Ray Ray fighting in the hood, and those are the mothers that I'm having to console or be concerned about because those are the kids that are dying. And so if people want to focus on this, fine. I think it's fake, though. I think it's fake. And I think for you to sit around and act as if this is okay and justified, you have to do that for the other 1,200 other black kids. And I think that's silly. We would never do that. I don't understand why we're doing it now.
Shemeka, thank you so much. Got to let you go. We're having some technical difficulties, and so I'm going to wrap up today's show, and then well, it's actually maybe not. We'll hopefully we'll come back on the other side with Jay Skap, and we'll kind of wrap up our NBA discussion. Anyway, I want to tell you guys about, you've heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free with their 3-week quick start kit for just $19.95, $20. That's it. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better. It's a day to live better. You want to live better. You want to do more things. You want to be active. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. We'll be back with Jay Skapanek and a little NBA reset conversation. Next. Men, it's time to rise. Our country, our faith, our future, all under attack. I'm bringing the boldest voices to Nashville. Roll Call 3.0 is your call to action. Join me, join Tucker, and let's take a stand together. May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville. I am Jason Whitlock, your host.
Went without so that he could give you an abundant life. Now it's time for you to evade the ego trip so that someone else can live better. Amen.
It's necessary that we decide to become men of character, of godly intent.
He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even you shall faint and be weary. Young men shall only fall. Jason, I know you called it to preach off, but I feel like preaching up in here right about now.
All right, welcome back. Time to talk a little NBA reset. We've been doing it for the last 2 days with Jay Skapanek in studio with me. Jay is back today. I want to end the show on a sports note. I want to recap part 1 which we did on Tuesday, where I talked about reducing the regular season schedule to 69 games. We talked about a rivalry week instead of NBA All-Star Weekend, 3-game series, teams matched up based on proximity, except for the Lakers-Celtics. We talked about the elimination of play-in games, which is going on right now. We talked about reducing the first and second round of the playoffs, going back to the 3-5-7-7. I mentioned about 20 teams making the playoffs, 10 not. I think that would require the number 1 seeds to have a bye, or maybe the top 2 seeds to have a bye. The number 1 seeds to have a bye. First 2 games of the NBA Finals played at a neutral site, so you can create a Super Bowl type weekend for the NBA. And then in part 2, Wednesday show, we talked about each team will host its own reality show, creating more than 190 pieces of content, season ticket holders, voting during the live season finale that has impact on what players get in postseason pay. We talked about how there's basically $4.5 billion allocated toward player salaries. We want to take about $2 million of that and award it to the players in postseason bonuses. Guys would be making a lot of money guaranteed just for the regular season, and they'd make a significant amount of money, and some of them a lot of money at the back end of the season. Wanted to decide MVP and the other postseason awards by letting the fans participate in that voting and in that decision making. It's about returning some power and some leverage and getting fans more invested in the system and some accountability to the players, incentivizing them to compete harder, to be more in tune with how important it is to compete during the regular season, because that impacts how much money they can make in the postseason payouts. It's, again, empowering the fans and getting them more connected and incentivizing the players to have more respect for fans. It was a lot. We unpacked the first 2 days. Tomorrow, I'm going to invite a couple of my friends into the discussion that I know have followed the NBA for a long time, and we'll get some fan reaction from them tomorrow. But today, I just wanted me and Skap to basically talk about my ideas and how it would impact, what's the good and bad of how it would impact team owners, the players, television partners, the fans, and the gambling sponsors. So the stakeholders is what we want to talk about. And so, Skap, as we walk through this the past 2 days, if you're an NBA owner, what would be your concern? What about this would you like? What about this would you maybe dislike?
Well, Jason, I think that as an owner, you're really not sacrificing much, to be honest with you. I think they would probably be the easiest sell of all, if you ask me. They're sacrificing under your projection. It would be 69 games, so you're losing, about not even, 6 games, 7 games-ish. Yeah. And then ultimately, if you are one of those upper-tier teams, you're probably going to lose a couple playoff games as well. So really you're talking about sacrificing the gate, the ticket sales, and the concessions. But that's pretty much it. We're probably talking, I'd say even an overestimation would be maybe $15 million per year for these owners in just the gate. But look at what you would be reclaiming if you're part of the ownership group. Probably the TV partnerships would enhance, so your deals with them would be more. You'd be getting more money in that regard, and you would not be paying players in some cases $55 million guaranteed dollars to play 40, 50 games of the 82. So you're taking back more of the power dynamic in the player ownership kind of relationship, which I think they really desperately want. So ultimately, I think owners would be your easiest sell on this new plan of yours.
The players would potentially be a very difficult. Once you get power, you really hate to give it up. And the NBA is the most player-driven league in all of professional sports. And they haven't figured out yet. That's why they're probably the most underachieving and reviled league, other than perhaps the WNBA in professional sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Somehow, some way, the NBA players have whittled all of this control and power. I mean, when you look at the NFL,
Race card.
I mean, how the NFL players look at the NBA with such jealousy, I think, because they're thinking to themselves, look, we put our bodies on the line far more. We have longer health ramifications in the sport that we play. We don't have anywhere near the amounts of guarantees that these NBA players have. We don't have anywhere near the off-court opportunities they have with sponsorships and so forth because, as you've highlighted before, how, the game lends itself. They don't wear helmets. There's no separation between them and fans. So,
Hold on, you just reminded me of something hilarious. Do you remember when LeBron put out that social media video about the glass helmet that he had invented? Do you remember?
I did.
He wanted NFL. We've invented the glass helmet. Him and I think it was Maverick on camera talking about this glass helmet for football players. It's going to make them just like, and I was like, what weed are they smoking? And could someone do an intervention? Because these guys are high and stupid. But anyway, I'm sorry, you just continue, the players.
But just the opportunities, the money that's available to these NBA players and the NFL players have been looking on with all this jealousy, I think, for years. And quite frankly, I myself am confused. Like, how did the ownership allow this to happen to them? Specifically because
Donald Sterling, the race card.
You might be on the right track here, I feel
That's when they hijacked the league. And I was someone during the Donald Sterling thing going, hey, man, this dude is talking to his chick, his sugar baby, whatever. And I'm not justifying him having a sugar baby, but I'm just like, have we really moved to the point where private conversations with your side chick or your sugar baby or your wife or whatever can be used against you? And I'm like, because I was like, the NBA players that are championing this, you got wives, you got girlfriends, you got side chicks. Them conversations, would you be comfortable if they're used against you? It was crazy, but it's the power of the race card, and it's the power of, weak men create hard times. Adam Silver, a poor replacement for David Stern, and he folded.
That was a shocking moment, I think, not just in sports history, but just from a societal standpoint. It did kind of, I think, in a way, it showed the seed shift that was coming ultimately, that, like you said, this illegally obtained conversation from, let's be honest here, an older guy, maybe dwindling mental capacity, was used to strip his team that was worth billions of dollars from him. And it happened, how? For life, the suspension for life. Remember that presser and it was met, Jason, with resounding applause and celebration by, society, by the sports world. And to me, I mean, I was sitting back thinking, how crazy is this, that this guy's lost a multi-billion-dollar property because of this one illegally recorded conversation that he had? People
listening to us will be like, well, Donald Sterling, he was a bad guy, and, he did other things, and they would be right to some degree. But I just whittled it down to, hey, man, I know my conversation with women. I know some of my friends' conversation with women. And so Donald Sterling's complaint to his woman was, hey, I don't want you messing around with black guys. And if you knew how many black guys have said something very, we have a problem. When an attractive black woman is with a white guy, we get all up in our feelings. She done sold us out. You shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, we do the exact same thing. Men have been doing that, trying to gatekeep women and who they date and what, for decades, since the beginning of time. And so, would me and Donald Sterling be best friends? No. Does he have the right to privacy, and was he just used? Maybe effectively by the NBA Players Association and Union, certainly by the media, to wrest control. And now we're all living in I can't even remember what year that was, but now we're all living in the aftermath of the players taking control of the league and people got to play their positions. These players, we act like they're all geniuses. No, they're tall and athletic, and they get a lot of money for doing that.
The other thing, Jason, let me ask you, do you remember the couple years where the predecessor, of course, Stern, where he had players mandated that they had to wear suits to the games? Do you remember
Yes.
that? Mm-hmm. And how that was unanimously rejected and honestly met with claims of racism because they were trying to make these guys wear suits to games.
They ended up wearing the suits, though.
They did.
Yeah.
But my major point, though, on that is playing in the NBA, it is a job, right? But it's a privilege as well. You don't have to do any of these things that the league mandates or demands that you do. Just don't play in the NBA. So I don't understand where we lost sight of that. You know, it happened, I don't want to cross sports necessarily or, you know, get overly racial on this conversation, but with the Kaepernick, the kneeling movement, no one's telling you to stand for the anthem, but if you play in the NFL, you have to stand for the anthem. That's part of the rights that you have to, you can be dictated to what you have to do because playing for these professional sports leagues is a privilege. It's not being, you know, demanded upon you. So I never understood in general in sports how we got to this point with the amounts of money that they're making to play a game that they could make these kinds of statements and commentaries overall in society. Like how and when did we reach that point? Probably you're looking up the date around the time of this
2014.
Probably around that, right around that time is when we started making this shift, and it's really resulted in the players, the inmates running the asylum, if you will, in the NBA.
And they're running it into the ground. This is, you know, it's a high-class version of the AN1 League. Mm-hmm. And the AN1 League was fun, and I actually participated in one of those in Kansas City. But it just wasn't, no one wants to play their role, play their position. Everybody, I'm more than an athlete. I'm a media mogul. And nothing LeBron James has done as a media mogul has been successful. He makes so much money through his athletics and through his endorsements that he can blow all kinds of money on this Spring Hill media or whatever, and he and Maverick and Carter can pretend like they're movie producers and, you know, big-time media figures. It's a joke. So the players would lose some leverage and some power. I think they would end up, though, with more money in their pocket, more respect, and better post-careers in terms of, they're diminishing the respect for NBA players. I don't, the way Jordan and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson are revered post-career, I don't think there's going to be that uniform reverence for LeBron and Kevin Durant and anybody in this era. It's a long-term play that a lot of people think they're in a checkers game and they never play the game of chess. And so the players will struggle to see the value of this, but sometimes it has to be imposed. That's what you have to do with young people. You got to make them do the right thing. And then later in life, they'll see the value. And then you'll be a father one day, Skap, and you will have to force your kids to do some things, and they won't realize it until 15 years later, then they'll thank you.
And ultimately, Jason, here's the thing. The owners need to realize they do have the power. They do have the leverage. That's the thing that they've lost sight of. They can force this upon the players because ultimately it is a long-term game for these owners. To force it into the direction that they want to get it to. What's a half a year for them of a work stoppage? What's even a whole year? But for the players, Jason, these guys don't want to lose a year of income. They don't want to a year of their playing prime or potential. They will feel the pressure far more to get a deal done and to acquiesce to this. And ownership does have the control if they're willing to exercise and use it.
Going back to the owners in turn, maybe there's some owners that just want the chaos, that this is what they want. Because if it's not what you want, eventually you put your foot down and you get something better. And it appears to be, it doesn't matter if these leagues perform economically, domestically. They don't have to compete with the NFL. They don't have to max out their value. And so maybe they're getting exactly what they want and they just don't care. Let's move to the television partners. If
Real quick, though, you made an interesting point. I just want to extrapolate on that real quick. Maybe you're right. Maybe ownership is part of the problem. Maybe there's a lot of owners that just look at it as a money game for them. And they're fine with, we're going to segue right into the TV partners now, they're fine as long as their money keeps increasing. What do they care what the product looks like? Like, what do they care, what the game looks like? What do they care if the fans like it or not? So maybe some of ownership is problematic in this as well.
Well, ownership also, and this is this whole globalist thing. It's like the NBA owners and NFL owners and Major League Baseball, this could be like a BlackRock Vanguard thing, that they're making money all directions. It's not, it doesn't, hey, look, this current system, like what we have going on in college sports, football and basketball, this free agency and agents taking more and more control of college sports, and players take, the more money that they feed the players and the dumber the players are, the more they can exploit them and take money out the other end. They don't mind overpaying these guys for bad product because it doesn't seem to be impacting their bottom line. And they're probably connected to Endeavor and WME. It's all one big cabal, and so it's just a game. They're not really competing against each other. They're profiting, they're sharing profit among a little elite group. And so more money for the players are stupid. We got some woman leading the Players Association. All she cares about is cutting a check and having that title. And I made history. I'm the first woman to do this. And useful idiots is perhaps what they want and have no interest. But TV partners, if you're a TV partner and you hear my idea, beyond the reaction, well, that'll never happen. Beyond that reaction, what do you think they would think about this idea?
I think, again, as with ownership, initially there would be some sticker shock here, Jason. They would look at it and say, we're losing whatever, 15 regular season games, losing valuable playoff games. Are they valuable, though? Like, what are they really getting you in terms of the viewership, the per-game views? I mean, under 2 million this year in the regular season, probably maybe 4 million-ish in the playoffs, maybe, as we work into the finals, like 10 million. But you're still, to me, the overall gains by them, because you're going to be auctioning these off, the postseason reality aspect of it, which I think has the ability to draw more viewership than the actual games. So I think the TV, again, as with owners, I think the TV partners will have very little pushback on this ultimately. I think they would buy into it pretty quickly.
Well, you got some TV partners that got existing contracts for a number of games, and people don't like change. And go back. No, you're going the wrong direction. I want who their existing TV partners are for 25-26. It's Amazon Prime, Comcast, NBC, Peacock, Disney, ABC, and ESPN.
And this is a fresh contract too, Jason. So they just signed. They just inked this thing. 11 years, $76 billion. So that's a big. That's a big share already in there. So I think maybe within your existing, the contract.
There's got to be some opt-outs in there.
I would think so.
11 years. There's got to be some opt-outs.
Also, you could incentivize that they have that these existing partners have the heads up on getting the rights to the reality aspect of it.
Yeah. I'm going to say fans for last because there's nothing but wins in here for fans. And so the other partners that all sports leagues have now are the gambling companies. Mm-hmm. Less games to gamble on, but more content, and these gambling companies seem to be able to come up with ways of gambling on everything.
You can bet on anything, Jason, especially futures. So you can bet on all of these postseason awards. You can bet on who's going to finish in what tier ranking. Obviously, there's the horse races that you can pretty much itemize where you think they're going to finish. You can do that in the futures market in terms of the postseason votes. And then look, what do you think American sport generates the most gambling revenue? Would be your guess?
Football.
And how many games are there in football?
There you go. 17, soon to be 18. But yeah, the more relevance and the more relevance, the more you're going to gamble. And so You're right. More people, even let's say the Colts probably had a pretty mediocre season. Pacers are having a decent season. There was more money from Indianapolis Colts fans bet, far more than Indiana Pacer fans.
Absolutely. So what does that say? Fewer games will not necessarily equate to less revenue. It's just going to be the way that people are betting on them. The frequency, the amounts is just going to change a little bit. But I don't think ultimately people will bet on anything. So I don't think there will be a super negative impact on the gambling industry based on the reduction that you're proposing. So I really don't think that the gambling industry is going to have much pushback either.
Yeah, and fans, any fan, and we'll talk to some buddies of mine again. These guys are longtime NBA fans. I just want to tell y'all right now, you're crazy if you object to this. You're just crazy. This would empower fans, give you some leverage, reconnect you with the sport in a way that, you know, and I know these guys are still connected. They watch a lot of NBA. They still talk about it. But I just couldn't imagine any real fans having a problem with this.
And Jason, even let's say like older school fans, either like my era, your era, even older than that, look, they might be old school, there might be maybe, I don't want to say pushback, but maybe just some like disinterest in the postseason awards, the reality show aspect of it. But look, it's still repairing the product. It's still ushering in the competitive vigor and trying to reignite that element of the game. So how is that not a win for everybody? Like the fans, the major complaint from fans by and large is these players aren't trying hard enough. They're not playing defense hard enough. They don't care about winning enough. Well, these steps are going to incentivize that competition to be re-added into the game. So with that reintegration, like everybody's winning. And then if you are a younger fan that is into social media and is into this reality show aspect, will you get additional added visibility into these players? And like, how cool is that to see more, to get more access to these players?
Skap, I went too long and we got to stop. But I want you guys to tune in tomorrow. You'll hear from some buddies of mine about this. We'll also talk about some other things in the news cycle. I might have to go back in on this as we get more information about this proposed rally. It may be a fugazi. Again, I keep hearing from friends of mine in Frisco, Texas, like, hey, we haven't heard about this. This may be a matrix deal. But regardless, anything that I said today about they're fomenting a racial conflict, a race war, and both sides are participating in it. And it makes me suspicious of both sides. We got to stand firm, stand on some real values, stand on values that will unite us and gives us a chance to escape or get to the other side of these psyops and things that are intentionally being done to divide us. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about what's going on in the sports world tomorrow. And we'll hear from some buddies of mine about my NBA reset idea. Thank you, guys. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, no deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom.